Today on Sagittarian Matters, EILEEN MYLES is back. We talk about meditation, the concept of home, making money as an artist, films, tea bags, co-parenting, girlfriends, ex-girlfriends, tolerating the intolerable, activist groups, self-care, ambition, and creativity. Plus, Unsolicited Whole Foods music review, hardcore music revisited, and an introduction to Hermes the Tortoise. Stay tuned.
Sagittarian matters, Sagittarian matters. What's the matter with you? Sagittarian matters.
Hello from the Sagittarian Matters Social Distancing Studios in Tahunga, California. Listeners, I'm all geared up. So let's just start talking. I want to talk to you about music, hardcore, and the tortoise. In that order. I was just at Whole Foods. I don't want to shop there anymore, but that's where I was. I was in the produce section getting produce for the tortoise, who I'll tell you about later. And the music system in Whole Foods was such that it was blasting in the tiny produce section, which is almost like its own alcove. Blasting like the B-sides, C-sides, D-sides of pop music. Granted, I don't have my finger on the pulse of pop music right now, but it was like the poor man's Taylor Swift, the poor man's Demi Lovato, the poor man's Maroon 5. No offense to poor men. But there was a band playing that was like a descendant of Maroon 5. And at just some point, the man, I think I've blocked out what it actually sounded like, but the man was like, ah! Like he did his big vocal, and it was so horrific. I looked to my right, and there was a man with, horn-rimmed-ish glasses, maybe a couple tattoos. Something about him told me that this man he was also of a certain age, so I felt like he would understand if I complained to him. Because before that, I felt like I was in isolation, just living in hell as I was trying to pick out a cucumber to feed this tortoise. So I couldn't bear it. It was like blood was coming out of my ears listening to this music. And I turned to the man and I said, that was his best take. This song we're listening to, that was this guy's best take. He was like, what? And then 10 minutes later, he found me in another aisle and said, I didn't realize what you were saying because I listened to it and it sounded bad. And I said, yeah, imagine how terrible the other takes were. That they chose that one to put on the album that got sold to Whole Foods. And anyway, I couldn't bear it. And I mentioned it to the person at the register. I said, I really feel happy for you that they're not pumping that music here. And he said, well, it's pretty hard here at Christmas time because they blast that music. And the girls behind me in line said, yeah, try working at Macy's at Christmas time. It makes you want to die. And then I said, at least you don't work at Grocery Outlet where they play their own theme song over and over and over again. Grocery Outlet, Maggie. And the girl said, oh yeah, I do hear that song. They play their own ads. I was like, yeah, while you're shopping at Grocery Outlet, they're playing advertisements for Grocery Outlet where you already are. Pray for the people that work at Grocery Outlet is all I'm saying. Okay, listeners. So then in the car to celebrate being free of Whole Foods and that music, I turned on Minor Threat because I was feeling it today. I was feeling that today. And I still think they're great. There's one song that we're not going to talk about that is stricken from the record that they've apologized for, but otherwise, great. I also felt glad to have grown up as an uptight teenager that was like, I don't smoke or drink or fuck, but at least I can think. I'm almost there now. I'm like 2/3 of the way there now. Okay, so then I was on a roll with hardcore, and I was remembering how I had a Minor Threat cover band called Minor Treat with my dear friend LKN, rest in peace, and Terica, and at one point Danny, and I was wanting to form another Minor Threat cover band, and then I decided to listen to Gorilla Biscuits. If you're not familiar with hardcore, just listen. I was listening to Gorilla Biscuits, a hardcore band I loved. in high school, and I was like, I think I still love this band. And then I remembered something I forgot, which is that they have a whole song about how it's not okay to joke around. They have a whole song that's basically like, we don't think all jokes are funny. Sometimes a joke may be funny to you, but not to other people, which I think is a funny extension of straight edge into just like, you're trying to rain on, drugs parade. We'll also rain on jokes parade. And then I remember that band also quotes the Bible. It's a weird slippery slope when you get into moralistic music, especially when you're a teenager, where it's like half the hardcore scene became Hare Krishnas, half of them became Christian. And I'm pretty sure, as I was listening to Propaganda next, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only person from my pack of hardcore friends that still yells out the window, Mita still murder, Darius still rape, as I listen to a Propaganda song. I'm pretty sure everyone else that was in my crew of gentlemen that would drive to hardcore fests, I think they all drink and eat meat now. I'm pretty sure. And now, finally, the information you have been waiting for. There is a new member of the Sagittarian Matters family. I am pleased to introduce you. I hope that you welcome her with open arms and paws. Her name is Hermes. She is a Russian tortoise of undisclosed age. Perhaps she's a year old, perhaps she's a little less. Hard to say. She came from a mysterious background with a shadowy figure who, quote, couldn't care for her anymore, didn't have the time to take care of her anymore. Any follow-up questions I had? Unclear. She came from a life living in a tiny aquarium with about a half inch of substrate, which is the stuff they like to dig in. She had no hidey hole. She just spent all day trying to get out of that tank. Now she's living in Tahunga, California in the social distancing studios and on the social distancing deck. She's walking around. She's eating dandelion greens. She's eating mustard greens. She's eating flowers. She's eating a banana. Whoops, they're not supposed to have sugar. I thought it would be cute to feed her a little bit of sweets. Oops, that's just on the internet. Actually, this kind of tortoise isn't supposed to have that very often. Sorry. Anyway, I have this tortoise now. Happy to answer any questions. Happy to welcome her to the family. She has not yet expressed an interest in becoming a producer, but I'll talk to Chris and Ponyo and see, if there's an avenue for that. I want to say one thing, though. I want to post so many cute videos of her on Instagram and online. I want you to get to see all the cute things that she does, because I have really benefited at different points in my life from seeing videos of a tortoise crunching on something or a tortoise getting a bath. And so I want to pass that forward. However, caveat, if any of these photos, videos, tortoise talk, if any of it inspires you in any way to get a tortoise, even looking at other people's tortoise videos, please adopt, don't shop. Please, for the love of Ponyo, adopt, don't shop. There are so many tortoises and turtles that need homes. Just like this one, there's so many tortoises and turtles that people dumped, but that are going to live to be 40 years old or 100 years old that are looking for homes. And I just believe that every time you go to a pet store or a breeder and get yourself a little baby or get yourself a pet store or breeder version, you're taking away a home that could have been the home for a homeless tortoise. I feel that way about dogs and cats, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about tortai. So anyway, as a favor to me, if you wouldn't mind taking a moment, if you decide to get a tortoise or a turtle, doing a lot of research, getting one from a reputable rescue, or perhaps somebody who can't take care of theirs anymore. That's my PSA. Thank you very much for listening. I can't wait for you to meet Hermes the tortoise. Hermes, if you are fancy Mr. Monopoly top hat monocle wearing person. I hope you have a great week and enjoy this episode. EILEEN Myles is a Sagittarius, a poet, a novelist, a performer, an art journalist, and a friend to Sagittarian Matters. Their more than 20 books include Cool for You, I Must Be Living Twice, Chelsea Girls, Afterglow, and more. EILEEN has received a Guggenheim Fellowship and was recently elected a member of the American Academy of Arts and Letters. They joined me from their home in Marfa, Texas, to talk about their new book of poetry, A Working Life. With intelligence, heart, and singular vision, A Working Life shows Eileen Myles working at a thrilling new pitch of their poetic and philosophical powers. They also have another book out. Please run, don't walk, and get both of these. The other one is a huge, beautiful anthology called Pathetic Literature. Go get both of these books. I swear you will love them both. Now please enjoy my talk with friend to the show, Eileen Myles. P.S. Content warning. About 36 minutes into our conversation, we talk about the existence of sexual assault. For approximately 4 minutes, we discuss that this is something that exists. I wanted to let you know, in case you need to take a break then. Enjoy the program. And then your book that just came out, or is about to come out, probably when people are listening to this, it will have just come out, is A Working Life, which is beautiful.
Thank you. Pretty, because you cut the color. Do you like the cover or you like the title?
I like the whole thing. I like the color. I like the drawing. I like the lettering. I like the poetry inside of it.
Oh my God. Wow. You're the ideal person.
The paper feels good. The typeface is great.
Yay.
I like the smell of it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Finally, the smell is what matters, I think. Yeah.
The smell is what matters. I wonder, would you be open to reading us a couple of things from A Working Life?
I could totally do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the little guys, right?
Whatever you want.
I'll read the first poem in it, which is called To a Friend, for my friend, because my friend had a crush and I was just wanting to give her some advice or something. Nothing better for people than dogs. Nothing better than making you scream here. There were 2 super new cars and then some pink chicken fillets. I guess there were berries for sale in Scandinavia. A man in a plaid shirt and cookies. Also, they are working in a cemetery. I can see their blue ladder from here. A man has written a book about many deaths or many things to do after. Read it, they say. But what comes after is a small idea. Now is large, rainy. Amy, I wish you luck.
I love that one.
And I guess I just love because Rainey and Amy rhyme. I think when stuff like that happens, I was like, okay, that's a poem. Do you want one slightly longer?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the best. I think this is the best poem. This is the hit poem of the book.
What page are we on? I like to read while you read.
It's page 130 and it's called Put My House.
Okay.
Put my house inside the boat. Can we do that? Put my dog inside of your dog. Put these birds inside of yours. Put your ocean all over my mountains. Put my mountains in there. Put my dog in yours. My dog walk is safe inside your dog walk. Let me eat inside you. Let me eat your food. Let me eat your house. Put your house inside my dog. Put your dog on my boat. Naturalize. Put my heart in yours. Put my mouth on your mouth. Put my hair in yours. Let me breathe inside you. Let me smell your guts. Put your boat in my eye. Let me eat your friends. Put these hours inside your hours. Eat this bird cheap. Eat my dog's foot. Eat that ocean. Run to him or the ocean. Run to them. Hear these birds cheep. Fly to me. Eat my foot. Put my house inside yours. In your mind, think me fly. Just fly me home. Love me now. Forget your phone. Eat my heart. Run to him or the ocean. Tweet, tweet, tweet. Dog growl. Cluck, click. Put my house right in there. Yeah, that's me looking out the window. Look at me. Bark, bark, bark. Put your heart inside that bark.
Yay. Thank you.
Yay.
I love it. You're in Marfa right now.
Yes, yes.
How does it feel?
It's great. It's finally, it's been like almost summer. It's been like 70s. It's been really great. And then suddenly it was like polar vortex came and winter was back and everything that I brought from New York that I had never worn, I wore last week. And now it's over again and we're back in shorts. And yeah, I love it here. It's got like really crazy weather. Like it's cold in the morning, it's cold at night. And LA is a little bit like Marfa's climate, but Marfa I think is more extreme. So it's sort of like San Francisco and LA kind of together with mountains. Yeah, I'm very happy here. I feel like it's the best thing I ever did, which was to buy a house in Texas.
Our friend Allie Liebegot, poet, author, friend, wanted me to ask you about your ideas of home. And let me see if they have any follow-up. They said, because you're a Sagittarius, and she remembered one time you said how much you love to fly on a plane, and it seemed kind of like you could be home wherever you are, that it's a state and not a place.
Right. Well, I feel like in my composition notebook, I am always home. You know what I mean? You know those little composition notebooks, the ones that are all spotted, and then it says composition. Like I've used different kinds of notebooks, but basically I've used those since I was a kid. And usually I write on, when I start a new one, I write where I am, you know, and then I go on. And I feel like I do write in them very happily on planes and you know, different places where I wait. And then I write, you know, I'll be like in the morning sitting on the couch with my dog drinking tea, and I'm writing in it. And I'm writing my dream, what I, you know, trying to figure out what that was. And so I think writing is a home for sure. And I feel like when I write a good poem, I know I'm home. You know, I feel like I've been in this clatter and everything's a mess and I can't figure out, you know, how to be me and what's going on. And then when I start to sort it all out and I make a poem, I think, okay, I'm in a new era. I'm arriving, you know, so that's one thing. But otherwise, I mean, I'm really, you know, like I have an apartment in New York that I've had since 1977. I'm really crazy, you know, and I grew up, I don't know, I kind of stick with it, you know, and this house is new. I mean, I got this house in 2015, so it's been like 8 years. And increasingly it's, you know, I just got a rug. Increasingly, it's just my place. And when I got it, you know, I was between relationships and I thought I'd only had houses in the past with girlfriends and it was always so hard to break up a home. And so I thought I really need a home that's like beyond relationships, you know? And so that's what this place is. And it's very much that kind of moment for me, you know? So a home is something very literal and real and full of ritual. For some reason, I'm getting neater in the kitchen. Like I really like cleaning. I never cleaned the kitchen before I went to bed. Now I do. I think it's really a good thing.
I think I read that in your book.
Really?
About doing the dishes, doing the dishes before bed so you wake up and it's clean.
Yeah. I mean, I'm writing a book slowly that will come out in a few years, and it's called All My Loves. And I think a lot of it is about things I learned from girlfriends. You know, and so I think that is definitely one of them, you know, and so I think that it's just like, it is like a home for me is definitely a composite of love, you know, like everybody who ever loved me in some way, I've held on to a piece that I liked and I live in all those habits. And then after a while I figure, oh, I don't have to do that. She's not here, you know, but a lot of them stick. I feel like my mother didn't exactly teach me how to live. I mean, she taught me something. She was great in some ways, but in many ways she wasn't. And so I've had to figure things out. And so I feel like I've been educated by relationships.
I agree. I can think of different ingredients for food or different habits or different things I've tried because of relationships. Totally. Things that I hated that I now do. And I think, wow, yeah, this is not so bad. Like what? Well, I have I don't like, I'm kind of don't like wet. I'm kind of a cat. I sort of don't like, you know, I mean, I'm clean, but it's just sort of like, it's something to put me in water. You know, it's like with the ocean, I jump in and I jump out. It's not like many hours doing laps and having this long relationship and so in the kitchen, in the sink, you know, it's sort of like where kind of little bits of garbage get down into the drain. I find that really disgusting. I really, really, really hate it. And I watched one girlfriend who was very neat and clean, like put her little paw in there and scoop it out with her fingers and put it in the compost. And I was like, how can you do that? What? And I thought that's really interesting and weird.
And so I've kind of come around to being able to do that. And I still find it like a strange practice, but you don't want all that stuff sitting in your drain.
No.
So, but it is, and nobody, it has to happen.
I have one where, I can pick up the whole thing. I have a little drain catcher I bought so that I can pick up the whole drain catcher to dump in the compost.
But stuff clings.
Yeah, I can't bear to touch it.
See, I think
it makes me want to barf. It makes me horrified.
Yeah, I don't. It's sliminess is really the consistency that I really hate in the world. Slimy things creep me out.
Like if you were to tell me there was a drain full of like wet bread and like old oatmeal, like it just like that kind of like that level of slime, like that kind of mushy.
And then green tea leaves, slimy green tea leaves.
I'm so disgusted by garbage in the sink, like a tea bag in the sink makes me, a tea bag like turns from something that's like a beautiful, fresh beginning to just being like, I'm repulsed.
Yeah.
This has been in here through an entire cycle of dishes being done. It's like in the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know about you. I have some pretty weird tea bag habits, which is to say that like if I'm in bed and I'm drinking tea and it's time to get rid of the tea bag, I love throwing it across the room.
What? Where does it go?
They just land on the floor. And then eventually, I sort of like go around picking up tea bags in my day.
They don't stain the floor?
Well, they'd stay until I pick them up.
I mean, they don't stain?
I don't know. I've got a concrete floor.
Oh.
I sort of don't care.
You're living free.
What's
You're living really free.
I'm living pretty fucking free. Yeah. True.
You're flinging the tea bag wherever you want while you're reading a book?
Yeah. I was like, it's okay. Who cares? Yeah, it's great.
I'm going to try to be I have, a Capricorn moon and rising.
Yeah.
So I have something like reigning in the freedom. So I feel inspired.
What do you do with the tea bag? You don't want to put it on your furniture, the little table next to the bed, the tea bag sits there?
I have a little tea bag holder that I got from Australia that's in the shape of a teapot and has penguins on it. And I either will rope the tea bag around the handle until it's suspended above where the water is.
Whoa.
And then just drink around it, or I'll put it like in a different dish or a different cup.
But that means that when you're heading to bed, you have to carry a cup of tea and the little.
Well, I'll like wait and have the whole thing prepared in the kitchen before I walk away. Often.
Oh, I see. Well, you mean so the tea bag is no longer an issue?
It's not an issue.
Yeah.
Because I set it to do its thing while I was doing something else. Anyway.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
We could go deeply into these kind of matters because it really opens into the whole thing of like what you said. You could, you do other things while it's becoming tea, and I do that too. So there's a whole world of this process is going, and now I'll go over and do this quickly, but I don't want this to get cold. There's a whole temperature time thing going on. There's whole things about tea that like I haven't entirely explored that are very interesting, and they're about time. I think it's sort of like 14 minutes with green tea, and the water not so hot. So apparently, it really comes up with this amazing flavor. And I want that. I've never done it, but I've read about it.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn a little bit more about tea because I do feel like I will just gulp it. I'll just gulp it like as fast as I can, and I know that's not what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But okay, before we get into some more advice questions, can I ask you about your meditation practice, either in the past, present, or future?
Absolutely.
How did you got into meditation? This is something I remember about you.
I mean, I got into it in the 90s, and I think I very much got into it because I had a crazy week. Like I had a week in which, I don't know, I had a performance and it was really great one night, and then it wasn't great the next night. And there was some woman that I was beginning to date, and it looked really good the first night, and the second night it did not look good. And the audience was, it was just like there were such completely different experiences in the same location, in the same life. And I felt like I had maybe a bunch of those things in a week. And, that way that you like, this week. And it was like, that. And my friend Myra was already doing Korean meditation on 14th Street. And so I was like, Myra, take me to your, and I went and I understood that for me that part of what meditation was something I get to do because the world will always do this, and it's just like, it makes no sense. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's, some of the things you're responsible for, but you don't often know what those things are. And the thing that's really cool about meditation, and I remember this, I heard this in the beginning, that it's like, you don't go to meditation to get smarter or clearer or wiser or more relaxed. You just do it to see what's there, and that's what, and I find that when I meditate every day, I know a lot more about what's going on in my life than when I don't. Like, I notice things, and I am very responsible for a lot of stuff that happens around me. And I think, me, how did that happen to me? And it's just like, well, because I pushed this lever and I made that remark and I waited extra long and you know what I mean? Like, all the things you do that you don't think of as things. It was like, I did all that, I'm not responsible for everything, obviously, but so it's really an important part of my sanity. And I go in and out, like here in Marfa, we have, what I have that I love here is, I have pillows all over the place and I meditate by myself, but I have a group that I sit with on Tuesday night. And I love having people to sit with, and I haven't had that for a few years, so that's really exciting and painful too.
Painful mentally or on the body?
Mentally. Yeah. It's just like, I don't know what. It's just, it's awkward. It's intense to sit with people. It's sort of like, there's just all these, I feel like I'm twitchy when I'm alone. I try not to, look at my phone or watch the cat running in the alley and shit like that. But when I'm with people, I'm like, don't touch your hair, like, I have to touch my hair, like that. So it's funny. And other people make me nuts too. I was like, why is she moving those beads? You're not supposed to be moving beads, so it's very funny, the whole squalor of being with other people,
And then it's so quiet. You can hear everything that's happening in their bodies.
Right. And outside, I love it. I love this. The silence of it is the greatest thing in the world. And I feel like, it's a little piece of, I'm an ex-Catholic, and there was a little piece of Catholicism that was about silence. And I got that when I was a kid. And it reminds me of that. It's like taking the part of Catholic that I like and making that be everything.
Meditation made me realize that I was home, that I could be home.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Despite everything. Because like you, I move around a lot. I have a couple different places where I live. When books come out, I'm on the road.
Right.
And I do get a little unmoored.
Yeah. How can you not?
Yeah. And then I remember you would do, was it through your meditation center in New York where you would go sleep on the streets?
We did. That was amazing. Yeah. There was a guy, I think he's not alive anymore, a guy named Bernie Glassman. And that was his thing, that he was about meditation and social justice. And so his thing was to do outings, do field trips, kind of street retreats, we called them. And you would go out and spend 3 nights and 4 days basically living on the street and eating with the homeless and just kind of like witnessing. It was the greatest. And it was an amazing way to be with people. It was really profound. We got so close, and it really was like being away, even though I was doing it in my neighborhood.
Well, I thought about that as I was getting on my meditation trip, and I was just like, Eileen does this. Because I think the social justice focused meditation appeals to me.
Yeah. No, I think it's a very American thing, to put those two things together. And also, I guess it's just like, and incidentally, we're talking about homelessness now. And I guess, people say unhoused now. People have changed the word a little bit, but it's so interesting that we started out talking about home, and then there's this other reality of homelessness, that's some people's cup of tea. That's how they're living. That's their life, but it's also a little part of all of us, I think, the way you feel homeless. And so I think it's profound to look at people who really, that's really their life, and to understand something about that.
Yeah. That was also part of a fundraiser, right?
Well, it was yes and no. It was more like to do it, we had to raise money to give to all the places that we would eat, because we weren't going to be like a bunch of bourgeois people getting a free, putting the meal bag on or whatever with the homeless. We were going to make, so we all had to raise $500 to give to all those organizations. And that was really great.
I'm really inspired by that whole project.
Oh, me too. Me too. I mean, there's a book one day that I wrote a lot about it too, but it hasn't ever, I think one little part of it appeared as a pamphlet, but the rest someday I'll publish.
Allie's other question is, how's anyone supposed to make money as an artist if they can't make their living that way? Like, what's the best path to finding the truth to earn money as an artist?
Oh, I just think you have to be really stubborn and decide that you're going to make money doing it.
Yeah.
And even though everybody tells you can't, I think you have to believe that you will and you must. And,
yeah.
And that's what you're doing here, I think. I mean, for sure, I feel like I know that. I mean, we all have loose definitions of what is making art. You know what I mean? Like, I do things. I was like, is that art? Booking a tour, is that art? We do a lot of work that isn't art exactly. But I feel like I want it all to kind of support a poem someplace.
Yeah.
Me making a poem. I feel like this is a house that poetry built. There's no other way that I have this house except for being a poet.
I think for me, it's helpful to have kind of a mission statement and to have it in my mind.
Oh, I love that. That's a great idea.
So whatever other things I'm doing to make money, if they align with the mission statement, I can just relax.
Yeah, no,
it's okay.
I think this is very Sagittarian again. I think that's exactly what I feel. That's exactly it. And I feel like when I was young, I mean, I read this Kierkegaard book called The Purity of the Heart. And the gist of it is the purity of the heart is the will to desire one thing. And if you only want one thing, you can have it. And I when I was young, I thought, well, I just want to be a poet. I just want to be a poet. And you just have to keep repeating the wish and stuff. And it's sort of like what you say. It's like, does it ultimately have to do with that? And yeah. And I think that's the question. It's sort of like in other contexts, like say drinking, it's sort of like if you're trying not to drink, the question is always like, well, you're trying to make a decision and they're like, well, does it bring you closer to a drink? Then don't do it, like that. And I think there's probably something like that about art too.
It's almost like I was working on a piece for the Nib, a comics journalism magazine, about a moment where some friends had an intervention when I wanted to have a kid. And the friends were like, you don't want a kid. Your art is your kid. Wow. Your dog is your kid. But wow. If I think about my art as my kid and I think about everything supporting my kid, which is my art.
Right.
It's like, I have to book a tour to support my kid.
Right. Yeah. My kid needs to go out and have friends and have a life and not be like a little shut in.
My kid's got to take a stroll and see the world.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely true. That's true. And your kid needs a new outfit. You have to buy some new clothes so your kid will feel good when you take them out. They won't feel humiliated by their parent, Me
wearing a barrel and suspenders, taking it out on the road.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I will tell you, I was shocked when those people had that intervention, though. I was like, it was people with kids that were like, you don't want a kid.
That's amazing.
Well, at the time, everybody I knew had a toddler and they just wanted a friend to have a toddler with them. So they were like, do it. And then some friends with adult children were like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You'd be okay either way.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's great that people would counsel you against it. Like, say, don't do it. Just don't do it.
But then they said it out of love because they were like, you love your life. Look at how free you are. It wasn't what I wanted to hear in the moment. I'll tell you that.
When I was dating someone that wanted to have a kid, did have people in my life who were like, do it. I think you would have a very interesting time having a kid, you know? And I love, it was a brilliant poet who said that. Fannie Howe, she was like, totally do it. All for it, all for babies and parenting, you know? I was like, wow. I mean, that was very moving because I love Fannie, this book is dedicated to Fannie Howe, in fact. I think babies would, I mean, it's definitely been up for me. I mean, it keeps coming up in my work too.
Yeah.
Lots of babies, lots of parenting. I mean, I suppose it was a real question, but also, I don't know. I mean, I'm interested. You know, I was sexually assaulted more than once in my life, but in a big way when I was younger, and it affected me tremendously. And so, in this new book that I'm writing slowly, I think a lot about rape, and I think about rape in war, and rape in culture, and you know, and it produces babies. You know, and what about those babies, you know? And it was really interesting. So I think babies came in through that door for me too, you know, thinking about rape, both to myself and to other people, and what is the outcome of war. You know, it's just like the way that, I mean, like, what was the movie that kept getting Academy Awards? There was a war movie like last week at the Academy Awards.
God, I don't know.
I can't remember the name of it, but it was like just when you thought everything all at once was going to get one more award, or that I love The Triangle of Sadness. I thought that was a great movie, and this war movie kept winning, you know, and people love still. Well, you know, I guess the Academy is still all old white guys, and so they just love a good war movie. But the thing that's always so interesting is the war movies just they're like an opportunity to make a world in which there's no women.
Yeah.
But the problem is there were women and they were getting raped. That's what happens in war. You know, it's like, and rape was not a war crime until 1949. I was like, well, what was it before that? Just like roadkill? I was like, yeah. So everything connects to babies in some way, you know?
I was thinking the other day, because I was listening to some meditation thing about how you have to honor your mother and father no matter what, in some way, because that's why you exist. And I was thinking about a family member I have who knows that she was the product of rape. Oh. And I was like, how is she supposed to do this meditation? Mm-hmm. Like, I get it.
Right.
On a biological level, but that's a big piece of feeling to just sit with or forgive. Or I was like, how in the world would this person do this meditation?
Right. Except I suppose, and this is not to be, you know, pro-life or anything, but I suppose you would wind up if you like being in existence, you would wind up being very grateful for the person who had the courage to have you anyway.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible because your little face is a memory of that face that you didn't like or want and didn't invite, you know? And so it's pretty profound, you know, but I think all choices are okay, obviously.
Yeah.
You know?
We're not pivoting to a pro-life podcast and yet.
Nay. But I mean, as a final note, I just want to say, you know, all American wars, you know, it's just like what's wrong with all the war movies I grew up with was they don't talk about this at all. And meanwhile, Europe was littered with the babies of American soldiers who had a big old rape party over there, you know, and it's like not part of the history, you know, and that's kind of amazing. That's just, you know, America is so frightening in terms of what we don't talk about or see.
Woof.
Woof, woof, woof. Right.
Woof.
Dogs.
All right. I have a pivot. That's an anonymous advice question.
Okay.
Dear Eileen and Nicole, my relationship with my co-parent is so stressful. Normally, I would have nothing to do with such an ex, but since we made a baby together, I am stuck with negotiating their severe ding-dongery for like the rest of my life. Oh, God. Do you have any advice from Confused in California?
Yeah, that sounds like everybody's worst nightmare of parenting, you know? That's sort of like, I mean, that it does seem to be what parenting is in a lot of cases, right? Is it two people who are really incompatible who have made a life, and then you've got to somehow agree and on how to take care of that. I mean, I think the obvious, which is to meditate, to meditate, to be as kind as you can to that person, because it just like fighting with them will not produce anything. And I would go to Al-Anon. I would go to Al-Anon. I would seek 12-step help, because I think, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I just know that that's a very good approach, to irreconcilable things and unendurable situations, where you really can't believe how people are behaving. You have to figure out how to be different.
Yeah. And it might even sometimes be like 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time, as opposed to 1 day at a time.
Yeah.
Just like catching those little glimmers of feeling generous towards them in your heart, just for like 30 seconds one day. Give yourself a pat on the back. Today's episode is brought to you by Jamie Soretti, Cale McHurst, and Joey Soloway. If you would like to support Sagittarian Matters, in particular producer Chris Sutton, please send $5, $5 million, that's your business, somewhere in between there or more, to hornetleg@gmail.com on PayPal. That's hornet like the insect, leg like its appendage at Gmail. Or, this just in, he has got a Venmo, Hell Books on Venmo, HE, double hockey sticks, books. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to saying your name on the podcast. Producer Ponyo looks forward to it too. Don't be scared. That's just Ponyo's speaking voice. Hello, Nicole and Eileen. My question is a classic, old-timey, classic lesbian relationship trope conundrum, which is, how do you deal with your girlfriend's ex-girlfriend who is still in their life and around all the time? And it's driving you totally bonkers despite lots of therapy, deep breathing, and, regulation and attachment, blah, blah, blah. Any suggestions? Thank you so much, from Bonkers in Boston.
Right. Wow. I know. I mean, I have friends that's it's weird. I don't think that I really ever had, is that possibly true? I don't know that that's ever been a big problem. I mean, it's probably because I date too many straight people. So it's like their exes are straight people. They just go away.
They just send them away.
Yeah. It's over. Yeah. But, I mean, I guess the one thing I think is that you can't legislate against them. You have to accept them, that's just a given, and I think but so it does probably start with some radical acceptance of the fact that this person is not ever going to go away, and it's sort of like, and I do find that when intolerable things are viewed that way, they start to become manageable in some way. I always think of this day walking down St. Mark's Place in the summertime. This is like in the 80s or the 90s, and it was so hot. And I was away or something, and I was just in the city for one day, and I had to do 900 errands. And it was so horrible in the city, and it was so hot, and I was so stressed, and I was so miserable. And suddenly I just thought, it will always be this way. And it was so funny. I started repeating it. It will always be this way. It will always, and it became like air conditioning. I just got so cool, and it just, everything got easier, And so I think there's some way to actually, like, I think even, it sounds so crazy, love that person, send like little love messages to them, Yeah, you can't fight it. They're there.
Yeah, if you try to fight it, you're just going to drive a wedge between you and your girlfriend.
Yeah, no, I mean, somebody I'm close to has this issue, and their girlfriend is fighting their ex with such passion that they have to hide. I've had that. It's not this, I've had that where I had a relationship where the person was just jealous of my friend dates, with anybody. I was spending too much time with other people. She wanted my time. And so I started to hide dates, and it was really crazy. I thought, just like in retrospect, wow, that was just like, that was really sick, So yeah, can't.
So you would just be like, I'm going to the dentist. And then you would go see one of your friends for an innocent walk in the park.
Right. I would sneak them. I would say that something I was going to was an hour earlier and I would meet them. And, it's just it was really weird. I was cheating with friends.
Yeah. Any kind of jealousy that ends up feeling controlling is just never going to pay off for you. Or it's not going to get you closer to the thing you want.
No. And I feel like in retrospect, when I think about my position in those kinds of relationships, I feel like if I had been able to be really calm and just say, this is my friend and I love them. I'm a Sagittarian. I need to have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friend dates. I need this is who I am. And then see what she does, and it was like, if that was it, that was it. I mean, just would have saved so much time in my life to be clear and calm about who I am and what I need.
Yeah. I mean, all that said, you don't have to hang out with the ex-girlfriend all the time. Like you could say actually try to cultivate some goodwill with the ex-girlfriend, find your commonalities, whatever they are. And then at a certain point, you could be like, I don't want to hang out with her every day. Mm-hmm. You can hang out with her every day. Good for you.
Oh, you mean, the person is stuck having, you don't need to hang out with them.
You don't need to be best. I mean, you can have a mutual respect.
Right.
We've walked the same path.
Yeah.
But
no, this is your friend. I don't need to hang out with your friends, once in a while, holidays or something, or, dinner. But I don't need to. You have your friends. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys go wild.
Right.
Have a great time. Dear Sagittarian Matters, how do I navigate weird/unhealthy dynamics in activism work? Ooh. We're all working together for the same goals and genuinely want the best, yet there's drama or people clashing with one another or people getting stressed.
Yeah.
How can activist groups be more effective and deal with these dynamics so people don't burn out or combust from combusting in Southern California?
Yeah. That one, that gives me pain because I know that I had that problem like a year or two ago where I feel like I had to save this park. I had to save it. I had to do it. And it was running my life and I loved it. I had never thrown myself into something like that way. And it was really an amazing experience. And I think where it got really hard was the relationships. And there were there was a bunch of people and there were factions, and this faction didn't like this faction and people, what is the answer? What is the advice? I mean, I didn't know, I think you have to learn how to pace yourself. I think the burnout is really huge, I think, in activism. And for me, what I didn't know is to take frequent vacations from it. You have to step away on a regular basis or you will burn out and all those fights will seem far too important and too, but people also have irreconcilable differences, and I feel like it's like, because I didn't know how to resolve those clashes, I feel like I felt more angsty than I needed to. So I felt like I needed to have vacations and I probably needed to take a hard look at how, people need group therapy,
I do think this is the kind of thing that a meditation practice or group therapy or 12-step practice could support in you. It only takes one number being different for the whole equation to change. And I'm not saying you're going to change all these. You're going to be like, I'm going to show up with a great attitude and change your mind. That's not going to happen, but you can control what you're bringing to the scene and how reactive you are.
Right.
Versus you taking a pause to really consider the inflammatory bits that people are bringing to the table and really consider how you want to respond to that and whether it's even worth it.
I mean, people have agendas in activist circles that they're not either they are not aware of or they are unwilling to share, and so that it's sort of like it's family stuff. It's intense family stuff, I think, going on.
And we've talked about it before in the podcast, but that's what comes up at group therapy. That's the point of group therapy, is finding your role in the family system and seeing how you respond when something happens.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a group therapy or 12-step scenario and then somebody's not acting right, or somebody's not following the rules, I can observe myself from the outside and see how I'm like, I get so stressed out where I'm like, that person's not following the rules. And I get to see myself from above and see how I like look at my lap and pretend like it's not happening. But then I get enraged. And then I'm like, and I get to see how every single person reacts to the same stimulus. And then you get to just work on your reactions around it. I mean, it is one of those things you do just have to keep the focus on yourself.
Yeah. And so I think finally I think we think that people need to take breaks, and they like you say, I think they need to use meditation practices and ways to chill. But I do think they need group early on. The group needs counseling.
Group therapy for that group.
Yeah.
For that activism group. Oh.
Yeah, we could have used that, because people would have been forced to say things that they were hiding, I think,
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Dear Sagittarian Matters, how can I stop seeking validation from others and fill my own cup?
Oh my God. Wow. God.
Unfilled in Utah.
Yeah. I think sincere and beautiful dates with oneself, I think that if you're an artist, making sure that you give yourself like really good art making time. And it doesn't have to be hours and hours. It could be 2 hours every day, but you need to give that to yourself, and on a regular basis. So you're not like giving all the time, because I think it's very easy to become something that is asked to do things a lot. And because it makes you be something to do things for people, it's great. You get pumped up and then you get emptied out, So I think it's really important to have a really sweet relationship with your own work life needs, and I think everything is corny that I can think of. Just buying yourself little gifts, like something that you can't afford, that not insane, like a Jaguar, but something that would make you feel really cool. Like you can't have that, it's like, why not? I think also going on a trip by yourself is really great. Thinking of a place in the world, near or far, that you want to spend some quiet or productive or cultural time. What is the next really magical place on the planet that you want to go to? And work quietly towards doing that. I think that's really important.
I think that's perfect advice.
Good.
Here's my question for you. Because you've been a teacher and because you're a lifelong artist, can you talk about your life as a lifelong poet? Because I keep having students in my grad programs, et cetera, who get a little high on the success idea, or like a little high, a little high on the idea of like being published or like having these big things happen, where I just want to get them in the practice. Like I want those things to happen too, of course, but I really want to be like, we're doing this so that you can do the practice and be in the long line of cartoonists before you and get this out of your body and onto the page.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we know that the love of the practice is what drives the practice, not the success.
Yeah.
It's like we're back to home. I mean, the thing that feels like home is me, drawing or writing or, like having my favorite kind of paper and using it and the pen that I love and just really giving that, it runs away with, I feel like with all of us, I think it runs away with me. And, suddenly you're looking at social media and you're looking at other people's careers and you feel crappy. And then you realize that everything you've been doing has been about towards success rather than towards this sweet nurturing of the art practice itself, So I think it's so like that's home. And like if there's no home, there's no, it's just like you're going to run out of gas fast, and you're going to feel like a fraud, or you're going to start doing work that people want you to do that has nothing to do with you. It's sort of like I think you lose who you are if you don't have kind of a nice, quiet relationship to your own practice. Because the thing about, success, as we know, one can feel really amazing. Like, I can't believe that I'm getting all this attention and that I am this amazing artist and I'm getting money and this money will always be, I'm on a new level of success, and then it stops. And you were like, whoa, wait a second, what happened? Where's all the cameras and the interviews and the big checks, And then, and then a time passes and then some stuff happens. I mean, it's very uneven. It's sort of like, we all know those people that like make you feel crazy because when they look at you and pay attention to you, you feel so great. And they have like a very flickering kind of attention span. And when they don't look at you, you just feel like, I guess I'm not so special, And I think success is like that. It's like the kind of, it's like the bad lover or the fickle friend. It isn't the real deal. It just isn't. And we don't know. People have had huge careers, and we don't even know who they are now. It just doesn't matter what the reward system is doing.
Yeah. And it just doesn't mean your work doesn't deserve to exist if you don't get those benchmarks. If those things feel so far away, if you're like, okay. I mean, I think about poets, I think about cartoonists, not historically the most financially rewarded artists that exist. Yeah. And I'm so glad that all their work exists.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And it's just like, it's almost like poets are almost a joke. It's like, the New York Times not too long ago had some article about, why poetry is dead again. And poetry's been dead since T.S. Eliot or something. And it was some crazy person from a Catholic magazine. And I was like, why is the New York Times giving this crazy? And I think because they just love to make us, they know there's a lot of us and they love to make us crazy, And it's just so funny that what they know about us doesn't produce power. It produces this kind of like, poets getting slapped around and feeling inadequate and stuff. Like, it's just like somehow we're like this joke, but I think it is because it's sort of like there's so many of us, and like, how could that be good? And it's great. There's so many cartoonists, there's so many artists. It's sort of like the fact that it's not uncommon is beautiful and powerful and rich,
Yeah.
It gets flipped somehow.
Do you have a personal line of when you let people see your work and when you don't?
Yeah, and I guess it's different. It's different poems are easy because they're frequently short, and so you can, like when it's like I wouldn't show something. I guess I tend to only show poems I feel pretty sure of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's harder with prose because it's a lot, and it's like this part could be good, but then that part's not good, and and I think it's harder the longer you are an artist too, because it's sort of like when I think about the class we teach, and and it's sort of like, and there's the new artists, and it's really important what each one does, but it's really important what the group does and how they see each other and all that, and so there's a lot of that kind of support when you're new. And I think it's really different when you've been doing it for a while to figure out who you trust, that can be honest about, what they think of the work,
Yeah.
So I think, it's like, it's friends, it's finding friends, and it changes. Sometimes it's sort of like they're not old friends, they're new friends,
Sagittarian Matters is produced by Chris Sutton, with assistance by Ponyo Georges. Our theme music is composed by Carolyn Pennypacker Riggs of the band Bouquet. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.
Sagittarian Matters.
I have another question from Ali Liebegot, if you're ready for it.
Yeah. Sure.
I have a smaller one and a bigger one.
Okay.
The smaller one is, what are your favorite films and why? Like, what films do you watch with a poet's heart?
Oh, that's so amazing. Well, I just saw a film and it was very exciting because I realized that it reminded me of another film that I had really, really, really loved. And then it turned out, of course, that it was the same filmmaker. And there's an Inuit filmmaker, and his name is Zacharias Kunuk. There's only one Inuit filmmaker, one big one, Kunuk. And it was screening here in Marfa, and it was about just very diaristic. It started inside this man and woman's home, and them doing their rituals. And then he went out into the ice and snow with the dog sleds and all this. And then there was a guy from the government that was trying to convince him to come and live in the settlement and stop living out on the ice and snow. And then it ended with him being very old and singing a song about clearly living in the settlement. They won, and about I can't touch the sea ice. I want to let go, but I need to touch the sea ice, and I can't go there. And it was singing this song. It was incredible. But the thing that's amazing is that, like, just before I moved to San Diego, there was a film. I think it was called Fast Running, something like that, and it was a 3-hour film, and it was like epic Inuit living. It was like a story that was like it was like an old story about something that happened to this man who was a Inuit guy. And part of the thing that I love so much is that the culture, the story, the guy was singing all the time. He was singing the story, and he was in his boat and he was rowing, and something happened, and it was around love and betrayal, and it was a journey, and I think he was thrown out of his tribe, and it was very moving, but it was just like, it was so slow and it was so beautiful, and it seemed to live in poetry, and I've read, like, I was obsessed with Iceland a few years ago, and part of what I loved was that there were these people who were singers in every, they were like traveling before there was radio or television or media at all. There were these people, and they would travel around. They would come to your house, and everybody in the neighborhood would come, and they would sit there in the fading light, and they would just sing this song, and they were regular people who would be fishermen and, and farmers and all that. But a portion of their year, they would go on tour. But the tour would go to everybody's houses. And so I think it's the oldest thing there is these people, and what's so amazing about this Inuit filmmaker, who's won a lot of awards, he's really great, is that he's showing that life both now and then. And I mean, for me, I just, I saw the film, and then I used it for like a workshop I did here in Marfa with I taught here for the first time, which was a complete trip. And and Daisy, the woman who's the director of one of the galleries here, let me use their films. And so we used a film for like a exercise. And then, like, last week they screened their films at the local library. And so I got to, go from the computer to the big screen. And when the guy sang in the song about, and I can't touch the sea ice, and I can't touch the sea ice, I just sat there weeping. It was so amazing. And film is so amazing to see big. It's so different. It's so different. You want to be in it. You really need to be in it. And that's what I love about film compared to TV,
Yeah.
So that's a real, for me, that's a real, I mean, there's certain films, like I love Satyricon is one of my favorite films ever, and I've watched it a million times. And I love AI. AI is one of my favorite films too, And I think, yeah, that's it. I mean, there's filmmakers that I love, and I just keep slowly seeing everything they do.
There's a film I watch. Oh, a hawk just went overhead, and all the little birds eating at my feet are scattered. I saw the giant,
oh God,
the giant body of a hawk. There's a movie I watch if I really need to cry called Grave of the Fireflies. That's kind of a 1980s Studio Ghibli movie about some kids in Japan that are orphaned after their parents are firebombed by Americans, their village. And it's the saddest movie that I feel has ever been made. But anyway,